Stop everything you're doing right now and listen to me carefully. Every single day of your life you are selling. You are selling when you talk to your boss. You are selling when you meet someone new. You are selling when you want your friend to watch that movie with you. You are selling when you convince your partner to try that new restaurant. Sales is not a profession. Sales is survival. Sales is influence. Sales is power. And right now, most people are losing at this game because nobody taught them the rules. This audiobook is going to change that. This audiobook is going to unlock something inside you that has been sleeping your entire life. By the time you finish listening, you will not see conversations the same way ever again. You will not see people the same way. You will not see yourself the same way. Welcome to Sales Mastery Unlocked. The power to sell anything starts right now. Let us begin with the most important truth you will ever hear about sales. And I need you to really let this sink in. Sales is not about being pushy. Sales is not about manipulation. Sales is not about tricking people into buying things they do not need. Forget everything you think you know about salespeople. Forget the image of the sleazy car salesman. Forget the annoying telemarketer. Forget all of it. Because real sales, true sales, mastery level sales is about one thing and one thing only: understanding people. That is it. That is the entire game. If you can understand what someone wants, what they fear, what they dream about, what keeps them awake at night, you can sell them anything. Not because you are manipulating them, but because you are serving them. You are connecting what you have to what they need. And when you do that, selling becomes effortless. It becomes natural. It becomes almost invisible. Now here is where most people get it wrong. They think selling is something you do at work. They think selling is something only salespeople do. They think it is a skill reserved for business owners and marketers and retail workers. But that is completely false. You are selling every single day, whether you realize it or not. Think about it. When you went for your last job interview, what were you doing? You were selling yourself. You were convincing that hiring manager that you were the right choice, that you were worth their time, that you were worth their money. You were packaging your skills, your experience, your personality, and presenting it in a way that made them want to buy. That is sales. When you met your partner for the first time, what were you doing? You were selling. You were showing your best side. You were being charming. You were being interesting. You were making them feel something. You were creating desire. That is sales. When you wanted your parents to let you stay out late as a teenager, what were you doing? You were negotiating. You were persuading. You were finding the right words to change their mind. That is sales. It has always been sales. Your entire life has been one long sales pitch, and you did not even know it. So let me ask you a very direct question. If you have been selling your whole life without knowing it, imagine what happens when you actually learn how to do it properly. Imagine what happens when you understand the psychology behind why people say yes. Imagine what happens when you can walk into any room, any conversation, any situation, and know exactly how to influence the outcome. That is power. That is freedom. That is what separates people who struggle from people who succeed. Because here is a truth that nobody wants to admit. The world does not reward the smartest person. The world does not reward the hardest worker. The world rewards the person who can communicate their value. The world rewards the person who can make others believe in them. The world rewards the person who can sell. Let me give you a real example. Think about two people applying for the same job. One of them has 10 years of experience, incredible skills, a perfect resume. The other one has 5 years of experience, decent skills, nothing special on paper. But this second person knows how to sell themselves. They know how to tell their story. They know how to connect with the interviewer. They know how to make that hiring manager feel like they would be making a mistake not to hire them. Who gets the job? 9 times out of 10, the second person wins. Not because they are better, but because they sold themselves better. That is the reality of the world we live in. You can be the most talented person in the room and still lose if you cannot communicate your value. You can have the best product ever created and still fail if you cannot make people want it. Sales is the bridge between what you have and what you get. Without that bridge, you are stuck on one side watching everyone else cross over. Now, I want you to understand something about mindset because this is where everything begins. Before you learn any technique, before you learn any closing strategy, before you learn any persuasion tactic, you need to get your mind right. You need to believe in your own value. You need to believe that what you're offering matters. Because here is the thing about sales that nobody tells you. People can feel your energy. People can sense when you are confident and when you are desperate. People can tell when you believe in what you are saying and when you are just going through the motions. Your internal state shows up in your external communication. If you do not believe in yourself, why would anyone else believe in you? If you do not think you are worth hiring, why would any company hire you? If you do not think your product is valuable, why would any customer buy it? The sale starts inside you before it ever reaches another person. So I want you to repeat something in your mind right now. I am valuable. What I offer matters. I deserve to be heard. I deserve to be chosen. Say it again. I am valuable. This is not arrogance. This is not ego. This is foundation. This is the bedrock upon which every successful sale is built. Confidence is not about being loud. Confidence is not about being aggressive. Confidence is about knowing your worth and communicating it clearly. And when you have that, everything else becomes easier. Objections do not scare you. Rejection does not break you. Competition does not intimidate you. Because you know who you are. You know what you bring. And you know that the right people will recognize it. This is where your journey begins. Not with tricks, not with scripts, but with a complete shift in how you see yourself and how you see every interaction in your life. From this moment forward, you are not just living your life, you are selling your way through it. And the better you get at this game, the more doors will open, the more opportunities will appear, and the more success you will create. That is the power of sales mastery, and you are just getting started. Chapter 2. People buy feelings, not products. Let me tell you something that will change the way you see every transaction for the rest of your life. People do not buy products. People do not buy services. People do not buy features. People buy feelings. They buy emotions. They buy the way something makes them feel about themselves. And until you understand this, you will always struggle to sell anything to anyone. This is the secret that separates average salespeople from masters. Average salespeople talk about what their product does. Masters talk about how their product makes you feel. Average salespeople list features. Masters paint pictures of transformation. Average salespeople sell things. Masters sell dreams. Think about it this way. Why does someone buy a luxury watch that costs $10,000 when a $50 watch tells the same time? Is it because the expensive watch is 200 times better at telling time? Of course not. They buy it because of how it makes them feel. They buy it because when they look at their wrist, they feel successful. They feel accomplished. They feel like they have made it. They buy the feeling of status. They buy the feeling of confidence. They buy the feeling of being someone who wears a $10,000 watch. The product is just the vehicle. The feeling is the destination. And this applies to everything. Every single purchase anyone has ever made was driven by emotion first and justified by logic second. Let me give you another example. Why do people buy expensive coffee from fancy cafes when they could make coffee at home for a fraction of the price? Is the coffee really that much better? Sometimes yes, but most of the time that is not why they buy it. They buy the experience. They buy the feeling of treating themselves. They buy the atmosphere. They buy the social status of being seen with that cup in their hand. They buy the feeling of being part of something. They buy belonging. The coffee is just brown liquid. The feeling is what they are actually paying for. And the companies that understand this make billions. The companies that do not understand this wonder why nobody is buying. Now here is where this becomes powerful for you. Once you understand that people buy feelings, you stop selling products and start selling transformations. You stop talking about what something is and start talking about what it does for them. You stop focusing on features and start focusing on benefits. And not just any benefits, emotional benefits. The feelings they will experience, the person they will become, the life they will live after they say yes to you. That is what closes deals. That is what makes people pull out their wallets. That is what turns maybe into absolutely. Let me show you how this works in real life. Imagine you are selling a gym membership. The average salesperson will talk about the equipment. They will talk about the hours. They will talk about the price. They will list features like a robot reading a manual. But the master salesperson does something completely different. The master salesperson asks questions. They find out why this person walked into the gym today. Maybe this person is tired of feeling out of shape. Maybe they just went through a breakup and want to feel confident again. Maybe they have a wedding coming up and want to look amazing in photos. Maybe they are scared about their health and want to be around for their kids. These are feelings. These are emotions. These are the real reasons people buy. So the master salesperson does not talk about treadmills. They talk about how this person is going to feel when they look in the mirror 3 months from now. They talk about the confidence. They talk about the energy. They talk about walking into that wedding and turning heads. They talk about playing with their kids without getting tired. They sell the feeling, and the membership sells itself. This is why storytelling is so powerful in sales. Stories create feelings. Facts create yawns. When you tell someone a story about another customer who was in their exact situation and how their life changed after saying yes, you are not just giving information. You are creating an emotional experience. You are helping them see themselves in that story. You are helping them feel what it would be like to have that transformation. And when someone can feel the outcome, they want it. When someone can visualize the better version of their life, they will pay for it. This is not manipulation. This is connection. This is understanding human nature and speaking to it directly. Now let me ask you something personal. Think about the last thing you bought that you did not absolutely need. Maybe it was a new phone. Maybe it was new clothes. Maybe it was a course or a book or a subscription. Why did you buy it? If you are honest with yourself, it was not because of the specifications. It was not because of the technical details. It was because of how you thought it would make you feel. You bought the new phone because you wanted to feel current. You wanted to feel capable. You wanted the feeling of having something new and exciting. You bought the clothes because you wanted to feel attractive. You wanted to feel put together. You wanted the feeling of confidence when you walked out the door. Every purchase was an emotional decision that you later justified with logic. You told yourself you needed it. You told yourself it was a good deal. You told yourself it made sense. But the truth is, you felt first and thought second. And so does everyone else. This is why understanding emotions is not optional if you want to master sales. You have to become a student of human feelings. You have to learn what drives people. You have to understand that behind every logical objection is an emotional concern. When someone says it is too expensive, they are really saying, I do not feel like the value is worth it. When someone says, I need to think about it, they are really saying, I am not emotionally convinced yet. When someone says, I am not sure, they are really saying, I do not feel safe making this decision. Address the feeling and the objection disappears. Ignore the feeling and no amount of logic will save you. So here is what I want you to take from this chapter. Stop selling products. Stop selling services. Stop selling features. Start selling feelings. Start selling transformations. Start selling the better life that waits on the other side of yes. Ask yourself before every pitch, before every conversation, before every interaction, what does this person want to feel? What emotion are they chasing? What feeling are they trying to escape? When you can answer those questions, you hold the key to their decision. When you can speak to those feelings, you become irresistible. When you can make them feel understood, they will trust you. And when they trust you, they will buy from you. Not because you pushed, not because you tricked, but because you connected. That is the power of selling feelings. That is the difference between struggling and succeeding. And now you know the secret. Chapter 3. Attention is currency. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a crowded marketplace. There are hundreds of stalls, thousands of people walking by. Everyone is shouting. Everyone is waving their hands. Everyone is trying to get noticed. Now imagine you are one of those stall owners. You have the best product in the entire market. You know it is valuable. You know it can change lives. But nobody is stopping. Nobody is looking. Nobody even knows you exist. Why? Because you have not captured their attention. And without attention, nothing else matters. You could have the greatest product ever created. You could have the most life-changing service in history. But if nobody is paying attention to you, you have nothing. Zero sales, zero impact, zero success. Attention is the gateway to everything. Attention is the first sale you must make before you can make any other sale. And in today's world, attention is the most valuable currency that exists. Think about what has changed in the last 20 years. We used to live in a world of scarcity. Information was scarce. Entertainment was scarce. Options were scarce. If you wanted to buy something, you had a few choices. If you wanted to learn something, you had a few books. If you wanted entertainment, you had a few channels. But now we live in a world of infinite abundance, infinite information, infinite entertainment, infinite options. Everyone is competing for the same limited resource, and that resource is human attention. There are only 24 hours in a day. There are only so many minutes a person can spend looking at things. And right now, there are millions of people, millions of companies, millions of messages, all fighting for those same minutes. This is the attention economy, and most people are broke. Let me put this in perspective for you. The average person sees between 6,000 and 10,000 advertisements every single day. Every single day. Think about that number. Billboards, social media ads, television commercials, email promotions, pop-ups, sponsored content, product placements. The noise is endless. And here is what happens when there is that much noise. People stop listening. They develop filters. They scroll past without seeing. They hear without processing. They look without noticing. Their brains literally block out most of what they encounter just to survive the overwhelm. So when you try to sell something, when you try to communicate your value, when you try to make someone care about what you are offering, you are not just competing with your direct competitors, you are competing with everything. You are competing with their favorite show. You are competing with their friend's text message. You are competing with the algorithm showing them cute videos. You are competing with their own wandering thoughts. And if you cannot cut through all of that noise, you lose. This is why capturing attention is a skill you must master. It is not optional. It is not something nice to have. It is the foundation of all sales. Before you can persuade, you must have their attention. Before you can build trust, you must have their attention. Before you can explain your value, you must have their attention. Before you can close any deal, you must have their attention. Attention comes first. American else comes after. And the people who understand this are the ones who win in business, in marketing, in sales, in life. So how do you capture attention in a world where everyone is distracted and overwhelmed? You do it by being different. You do it by being bold. You do it by being unexpected. You do it by speaking directly to what people care about. Let me break this down for you. The first thing you need to understand is that people pay attention to things that are relevant to them. This sounds obvious, but most people ignore it. They talk about themselves. They talk about their product. They talk about their company. But the person listening does not care about any of that. They care about themselves. They care about their problems. They care about their desires. They care about their life. So if you want their attention, start with them. Start with their pain. Start with their dream. Start with something that makes them say, wait, this is about me. The second thing you need to understand is that people pay attention to things that are unexpected. Our brains are wired to notice novelty. When something is predictable, we tune it out. When something is surprising, we snap to attention. This is why the same old sales pitches do not work anymore. People have heard them 1,000 times. They know what is coming. They scroll past. They hang up. They walk away. But when you say something they did not expect, when you open with a bold statement, when you challenge what they believe, when you interrupt their pattern, suddenly they are listening. Suddenly they want to know more. Suddenly you have broken through the noise. The third thing you need to understand is that people pay attention to emotion. Facts are boring. Data is forgettable. But emotion is magnetic. When you make someone feel something, they cannot look away. This is why stories work so well. This is why drama works so well. This is why conflict and tension and surprise and humor all capture attention instantly. You do not need to be loud. You do not need to be aggressive. You need to be emotional. You need to create a feeling in the first few seconds of any interaction. Fear, curiosity, excitement, hope, shock. Anything that moves them emotionally will hold their attention far longer than any list of features ever could. Now let me give you a practical example of how this works. Imagine two salespeople selling the same product. The first one approaches a potential customer and says, "Hi, I would like to tell you about our new software solution that offers integrated functionality and seamless workflow optimization." The customer is already gone. Their eyes glazed over. Their mind drifted to lunch. The words meant nothing. Now imagine the second salesperson approaches the same customer and says, "Let me ask you something. How many hours did you waste last week doing tasks that should take minutes?" Suddenly the customer is listening. Suddenly they are thinking about their own frustration. Suddenly they want to know what this person has to say. Same product, completely different result. The difference is attention. The first person lost it immediately. The second person captured it instantly. Here is what I want you to remember. You are not entitled to anyone's attention. Nobody owes you their focus. Nobody is required to listen to you. You have to earn it. You have to fight for it. You have to be so relevant, so unexpected, so emotionally compelling that they cannot look away. And you have about 3 seconds to do it. 3 seconds. That is how long you have before someone decides whether to keep listening or move on. 3 seconds to hook them. 3 seconds to show them this matters. 3 seconds to prove you are worth their most valuable resource. If you waste those 3 seconds with boring introductions, with generic statements, with anything that sounds like everyone else, you lose. The game is over before it started. So I want you to think about every interaction you have as a competition for attention. Whether you are sending an email, making a phone call, walking into a meeting, posting on social media, or starting a conversation at a networking event. The first question is always, how do I capture their attention? Not, how do I explain my product? Not, how do I list my credentials? Not, how do I give them information? How do I stop them in their tracks? How do I make them want to hear more? How do I earn the right to keep talking? Master this, and you will never struggle to get in front of people again. Ignore this, and you will keep wondering why nobody seems to care about what you are offering. Attention is currency. Start treating it like the most valuable thing in the world. Because it is. Chapter 4. The Psychology of Yes. There is a moment in every conversation that changes everything. It is the moment when someone stops resisting and starts agreeing. It is the moment when their mind shifts from maybe to yes. It is the moment when all your words, all your effort, all your energy finally breaks through and they decide in your favor. This moment is not random. This moment is not luck. This moment is psychology. And if you understand how the human mind makes decisions, you can create this moment on purpose. You can lead people to yes without pushing. You can guide them to agreement without forcing. You can make saying yes feel like their idea. That is the power of understanding the psychology of yes, and that is what this chapter is going to teach you. Let me start with a truth that most people never learn. Human beings are not rational creatures who sometimes feel emotions. Human beings are emotional creatures who sometimes use logic. This is important. Most people think that if they present enough facts, enough data, enough logical arguments, people will naturally agree. But that is not how the brain works. Decisions are made in the emotional part of the brain first. Then the logical part of the brain is used to justify what was already decided. This is why someone can hear a perfect logical argument and still say no. This is why someone can be shown undeniable proof and still resist. Because logic does not drive decisions. Emotion does. And if you want people to say yes, you need to speak to their emotions first. So what emotions lead to yes? There are several, but let me focus on the most powerful ones. The first is trust. Nobody says yes to someone they do not trust. Trust is the foundation of every agreement. Without it, nothing else matters. You could have the best offer in the world, but if they do not trust you, they will not take it. So how do you build trust quickly? You do it by being consistent. You do it by being honest. You do it by showing that you understand their situation. You do it by listening more than you talk. You do it by not pushing too hard, too fast. Trust is built in small moments. A promise kept. A question answered honestly. A concern acknowledged. Every interaction either builds trust or breaks it. And the more trust you build, the easier yes becomes. The second emotion that leads to yes is desire. People say yes to things they want. This sounds obvious, but most people miss it. They spend all their time talking about what they are offering, instead of making the other person want it. Desire is created by showing someone a better future. Desire is created by painting a picture of what their life could look like. Desire is created by connecting your offer to their deepest wants and needs. When someone truly wants something, they will find reasons to say yes. When someone does not want something, they will find reasons to say no. Your job is not to convince them to want it. Your job is to uncover what they already want and show them how your offer delivers it. The third emotion that leads to yes is safety. Fear is one of the biggest barriers to agreement. People are afraid of making the wrong decision. They are afraid of being judged. They are afraid of losing money. They are afraid of looking foolish. And when fear is present, people default to no, because no feels safe. Yes requires risk. Yes requires commitment. Yes requires stepping into the unknown. So if you want more people to say yes, you need to reduce their fear. You do this by offering guarantees. You do this by showing social proof that others have said yes and been happy. You do this by making the decision feel reversible. You do this by being calm and confident yourself. When you are relaxed, they become relaxed. When you are nervous, they become nervous. Your energy transfers to them. So bring safety into every conversation and watch resistance melt away. Chapter 5. Objections are invitations. Let me tell you something that will completely change how you feel about rejection. Most people fear objections. Most people hear the word no, or I need to think about it, or it is too expensive, and they crumble. They feel defeated. They feel like they failed. They take it personally and they give up. But here is what masters understand that amateurs do not. Objections are not rejection. Objections are invitations. When someone gives you an objection, they are not saying go away. They are saying convince me. They are saying I'm interested but I have concerns. They are saying help me feel safe about this decision. An objection is a conversation continuing. Silence is rejection. Walking away is rejection. But an objection means they are still engaged. They are still thinking about it. They are still in the game. And if you know how to handle objections properly, they become the doorway to yes. Think about it this way. If someone truly did not care about what you were offering, they would not bother objecting. They would just say, no thank you, and leave. They would not waste their time explaining why they are hesitant. The fact that they are giving you reasons means something is happening inside their mind. They are processing. They are weighing options. They are looking for reassurance. They want to say yes, but something is holding them back. Your job is to find out what that something is and address it. Your job is to listen to the objection, understand it, and then dissolve it. Not by arguing, not by pressuring, but by understanding and reframing. Let me give you the most common objections you will ever hear and show you what they really mean. When someone says it is too expensive, they are not saying, "I do not have money." They are saying, "I do not see enough value to justify the cost." The price is not the problem. The perceived value is the problem. So instead of lowering your price or getting defensive, you need to increase their perception of value. You need to help them see what they are really getting. You need to connect the price to the transformation they will experience. When they understand what they are truly buying, the price suddenly feels small compared to the benefit. When someone says I need to think about it, they are not saying I am going to go home and carefully analyze his decision. They are saying I am not convinced yet, and I do not want to say no to your face. This objection is almost never about thinking. It is about feeling. They do not feel ready. They do not feel certain. They do not feel safe. So instead of saying, "Okay, take your time," you need to gently uncover what is really holding them back. You ask, "What specifically would you like to think about?" You ask, "Is there something I did not explain clearly?" You ask, "What would need to be true for you to feel good about this decision?" When you dig deeper, you find the real objection hiding underneath, and that is the one you need to address. When someone says, "I need to talk to my spouse or my partner or my business partner," sometimes this is true, but often it is another way of saying, "I am not fully sold and I want someone else to make this decision for me." The way you handle this is by asking questions. You ask, "What do you think they would want to know?" You ask, "If your partner was here right now and loved this idea, would you move forward?" You help them see that they have more decision-making power than they are admitting, and if they truly do need to consult someone, you offer to help. You offer to be available for a call with both of them. You make it easy for them to bring you into that conversation, rather than leaving your fate in someone else's hands. Now let me teach you a simple framework for handling any objection that comes your way. It has 3 steps: listen, validate, and reframe. First, you listen. Really listen. Do not interrupt. Do not start planning your response while they are talking. Just hear them out completely. Let them express their concern fully. This alone builds trust, because most salespeople start talking over objections immediately. When you listen patiently, you stand out. Second, you validate. This means you acknowledge their concern without agreeing that it should stop them. You say, "I completely understand why you would feel that way." You say, "That is a really fair concern." You say, "A lot of people feel the same way initially." This makes them feel heard. This lowers their defenses. This shows you are not going to fight them. Third, you reframe. This is where you gently shift their perspective. You offer a new way of looking at the situation. You share how other people moved past this same concern. You provide information that addresses the root of their hesitation. You do not argue, you illuminate. You help them see something they were not seeing before. Here is an example of this in action. Imagine someone says, "I'm interested, but the price is more than I expected." First, you listen and let them finish. Then you validate by saying, "I hear you, and I appreciate you being honest about that. A lot of people have that initial reaction." Then you reframe by saying, "But let me ask you something. If this product does what I described, if it saves you 10 hours every week, if it brings you the results we talked about, would the price still feel too high?" What you have done is shift the conversation from cost to value. You have helped them see the bigger picture, and suddenly the objection loses its power. I want you to start seeing objections as opportunities. Every objection is a chance to deepen the conversation. Every objection is a chance to build more trust. Every objection is a chance to demonstrate that you truly understand their needs. The worst thing you can do is avoid objections or crumble when they appear. The best thing you can do is welcome them, even invite them. Ask people, "What concerns do you have?" Ask them, "What would stop you from moving forward?" When you bring objections into the open, you control the conversation. When you hide from objections, they control you. From this moment forward, never fear an objection again. See it for what it really is, an invitation to continue the conversation, an invitation to prove your value, an invitation to turn uncertainty into certainty. Handle objections with grace and confidence, and you will close more deals than you ever thought possible. Chapter 6. Sell yourself first. Before you can sell any product, before you can sell any service, before you can sell any idea, you must sell something far more important. You must sell yourself. This is the truth that most people never grasp. They spend all their time perfecting their pitch. They memorize scripts. They learn closing techniques. They study their product inside and out. But they forget the most fundamental truth of all sales. People do not buy from companies. People do not buy from brands. People buy from people. And if they do not buy you, they will never buy what you are offering. You are the first product. You are the first sale. And until you close that sale, nothing else matters. Think about every interaction you have ever had with a salesperson. Think about the ones who made you want to buy and the ones who made you want to run away. What was the difference? It was rarely about the product. It was about the person. The ones who made you feel comfortable, the ones who seemed genuine, the ones who listened to you, the ones who made you feel like they actually cared about solving your problem. Those are the ones you trusted. And trust is the beginning of every sale. On the other hand, the ones who seemed pushy, the ones who felt fake, the ones who talked too much and listened too little, the ones who made you feel like a transaction rather than a person, those are the ones you rejected. Not because their product was bad, because they failed to sell themselves first. So what does it mean to sell yourself? It means establishing your credibility. It means building rapport. It means creating connection. It means making the other person feel that you are someone worth listening to, someone worth trusting, someone worth doing business with. And this happens before you ever open your mouth about your product. It happens in the first few seconds of any interaction. It happens through your body language, your tone of voice, your energy, your presence. People are constantly reading you. They are making judgments about you before you say a single word about what you are selling. And those judgments determine whether they will give you a chance or shut you down immediately. Let me tell you about the 3 pillars of selling yourself. The first pillar is confidence. Not arrogance, not ego, confidence. There is a massive difference. Arrogance says, I am better than you. Confidence says, I know my value. Arrogance pushes people away. Confidence draws people in. When you are confident, people feel safe around you. They sense that you know what you are doing. They trust that you can deliver on what you promise. But when you are insecure, when you are nervous, when you doubt yourself, people feel it. They might not know exactly what is wrong, but something feels off. And when something feels off, they do not buy. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build. You build it by knowing your product deeply. You build it by preparing thoroughly. You build it by practicing until your delivery feels natural. You build it by stacking small wins until you believe in yourself. And most importantly, you build it by deciding to be confident. Confidence is a choice you make before every conversation. Choose to believe in yourself, and others will believe in you too. The second pillar is authenticity. People can smell fake from a mile away. When you're pretending to be something you are not, when you are using scripts that do not sound like you, when you're putting on a mask to impress people, they sense it, and it destroys trust immediately. The most powerful thing you can do in any sales situation is be yourself. Be real. Be human. If you do not know something, admit it. If you made a mistake, own it. If you genuinely care about helping them, show it. Authenticity creates connection because it invites the other person to be real with you too. When you drop your mask, they drop theirs. And that is when real conversation happens. That is when real trust is built. That is when real deals are made. Stop trying to be the perfect salesperson. Start trying to be the real you. That is who people want to buy from. The third pillar is likability. This might sound shallow, but it is deeply true. People buy from people they like. It is that simple. If someone likes you, they will find reasons to say yes. If someone does not like you, they will find reasons to say no. So how do you become more likable? You do it by being genuinely interested in other people. You do it by asking questions and actually listening to the answers. You do it by finding common ground. You do it by smiling. You do it by using their name. You do it by making them feel important. You do it by being warm without being fake. Likability is not about performing, it is about caring. When you genuinely care about the person in front of you, when you see them as a human being rather than a commission check, they feel it. And that feeling makes them want to be around you. That feeling makes them want to do business with you. That feeling makes them want to say yes. Now let me talk about something that goes beyond individual interactions. Selling yourself also means building your personal brand. In today's world, people research you before they ever meet you. They look at your social media, they read your reviews, they ask around about you. They form opinions about you before you walk into the room. This means that selling yourself is not just about face-to-face interactions. It is about how you show up everywhere. What does your online presence say about you? Does it communicate credibility and value? Or does it communicate chaos and confusion? What do people say about you when you are not in the room? Are you known for delivering on your promises? Are you known for treating people well? Your reputation is a sales tool that works for you 24 hours a day. Build it intentionally. Protect it fiercely. Here is something I want you to understand deeply. Selling yourself is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. Every interaction is an opportunity to reinforce your value. Every conversation is a chance to strengthen your reputation. Every follow-up is a moment to deepen trust. The best salespeople never stop selling themselves because they know that trust is not built once and forgotten. Trust is built and maintained over time. One broken promise can destroy years of credibility. One moment of dishonesty can erase everything you have built. So be consistent, be reliable, be someone who does what they say they will do. That is the ultimate way to sell yourself. I also want you to think about how you sell yourself beyond professional situations. Remember what we discussed at the beginning of this audiobook. You are always selling. When you go on a date, you are selling yourself as a potential partner. When you meet new friends, you are selling yourself as someone worth knowing. When you interview for a job, you are selling yourself as the best candidate. The principles are exactly the same: confidence, authenticity, likability. Show up as the best version of yourself, not a fake version, not an exaggerated version, the best real version, the version that knows their value, speaks their truth, and genuinely connects with others. From this moment forward, I want you to see yourself as the product. Before every pitch, before every meeting, before every conversation, ask yourself, am I ready to sell me first? Because when you master that sale, everything else becomes infinitely easier. People will want to hear your ideas. People will want to buy your products. People will want to follow your lead. Sell yourself first, and the world will open doors you never even knew existed. Chapter 7. Sales never gets fired. I want you to understand something about the business world that will change how you see your own career and your own value forever. In every company, in every organization, in every business that has ever existed, there is one department that is untouchable. There is one team that survives every recession, every downturn, every budget cut, every crisis. That team is sales. Sales never gets fired. And when you understand why, you will understand why mastering this skill is the single most important thing you can do for your financial future. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a company is struggling. Revenue is down, profits are shrinking, the board is panicking. The executives are meeting behind closed doors, trying to figure out how to survive. What happens next? They start cutting. They cut the marketing budget. They lay off developers. They reduce the administrative staff. They freeze hiring. They eliminate training programs. They cancel office perks. They cut and cut and cut until the company is running on the bare minimum. But there is one team they will never touch. There is one group of people they will protect at all costs: the sales team. Why? Because sales is the only department that directly brings money into the company. Everything else is an expense. Sales is income. Everything else costs money. Sales makes money. And when a company is fighting for survival, the only thing that matters is money coming in the door. Think about this logically. You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody sells it, you have zero revenue. You can have the most talented engineers building incredible technology, but if nobody sells it, you have zero revenue. You can have the most creative marketers generating buzz and attention, but if nobody closes the deals, you have zero revenue. Sales is the engine that drives everything. Without sales, there is no company. Without sales, there are no salaries. Without sales, there are no jobs for anyone else. Every single person in every single department ultimately depends on the sales team to keep the lights on. That is the reality of business, and that is why sales is the most secure, most valued, most protected function in any organization. Now let me tell you what this means for you personally. If you develop sales skills, you become invaluable. You become the person that companies cannot afford to lose. You become the one who survives every layoff, every restructure, every economic downturn. While other people are worrying about job security, you are confident because you know you bring in revenue. While other people are hoping they do not get cut, you are getting promoted because you directly impact the bottom line. While other people are competing for limited positions, you are being recruited because every company needs people who can sell. Sales skills are the ultimate job security. They are the ultimate career insurance, and they transfer to every industry, every market, every economy. But here is something even more powerful. Sales skills do not just protect you within a company. They give you the ability to create your own income whenever you want. If you can sell, you never have to be unemployed. Think about that for a moment. If you lose your job tomorrow, what would you do? Most people would panic. They would update their resume. They would start applying for jobs. They would wait and hope that someone gives them a chance. But if you can sell, you have options. You could start freelancing immediately and sell your services. You could launch a small business and sell products. You could do consulting and sell your expertise. You could even sell yourself into a new job faster than anyone else, because the job interview itself is a sales conversation. When you can sell, you control your own destiny. You are not dependent on anyone else to give you permission to make money. You have the power to create your own opportunities. Let me give you some real-world examples of how this plays out. Think about entrepreneurs. Every successful entrepreneur is a salesperson. They might call themselves founders or CEOs or visionaries, but at the core, they are salespeople. They sell their vision to investors to get funding. They sell their mission to employees to build a team. They sell their product to customers to generate revenue. They sell their story to the media to get attention. Everything an entrepreneur does is sales. And the entrepreneurs who fail, the startups that crash, the businesses that never get off the ground, most of the time, it is not because the product was bad. It is because nobody could sell it. Sales is the difference between a dream and a reality. Sales is the difference between an idea and a business. Now think about the highest paid people in most companies. Look at the compensation structures. Look at who makes the most money. Very often, it is the top salespeople. They earn more than the engineers. They earn more than the managers. Sometimes they earn more than the executives. Why? Because they bring in the revenue. They directly contribute to the company's survival and growth, and companies are willing to pay top dollar for that. If you can consistently bring in business, you can write your own paycheck. You become too valuable to lose and too expensive to ignore. This is why sales is not just a skill, it is a wealth-building strategy. It is a path to financial freedom that most people completely overlook because they are scared of the word sales. I want to address that fear directly. A lot of people avoid sales because they think it is sleazy. They think it is pushy. They think it is beneath them. They want to be the creative genius in the back room. They want to be the expert who is discovered for their talent. They want success to come to them without having to sell. But that is not how the world works. The world does not reward people who hide. The world rewards people who put themselves out there. The world rewards people who can communicate their value. The world rewards people who can persuade and influence and close. You can be the most talented person on the planet, but if you cannot sell yourself and your ideas, you will always be working for someone who can. Let me share another perspective with you. Even if you never work in a sales role officially, you are still selling every single day. When you pitch an idea to your team, you are selling. When you ask for a raise or a promotion, you are selling. When you try to get buy-in for a project, you are selling. When you lead a team and need them to follow your vision, you are selling. When you negotiate a contract or a partnership, you are selling. Sales is not a job title. Sales is a life skill. And the people who pretend they do not need it are the ones who struggle the most. They wonder why their ideas get ignored. They wonder why they get passed over for promotions. They wonder why less talented people seem to get ahead. The answer is simple. Those other people know how to sell. Here is what I want you to take away from this chapter. Sales is not optional. Sales is not something you can delegate and forget about. Sales is the heartbeat of every business, every career, every success story. And if you want to thrive in this world, you need to embrace it fully. You need to see sales skills not as a burden, but as a superpower. You need to invest in developing these skills the same way you would invest in any other education, because the return on this investment is greater than almost anything else you could learn. Sales skills will make you more money. Sales skills will give you more security. Sales skills will open more doors. Sales skills will give you more freedom. There is no downside to becoming great at sales. There is only upside. So stop avoiding it. Stop thinking it is someone else's job. Stop believing that you are above it. The most successful people in the world, the billionaires, the leaders, the icons, they all understand sales. They all practice sales. They all credit sales as a key to their success. You are no different. You have the same ability to develop these skills. You have the same potential to become someone who can sell anything to anyone. And when you do, you will never worry about your career again. You will never worry about money again. You will never worry about opportunities again. Because you will have the one skill that the world will always pay for. The one skill that never gets fired. The one skill that keeps the lights on everywhere. Sales. Chapter 8. The Closer Mindset. We've come a long way together in this audiobook. You've learned that you've been selling your entire life without knowing it. You've learned that people buy feelings, not products. You've learned that attention is the most valuable currency in the world. You've learned the psychology behind why people say yes. You've learned that objections are invitations to continue the conversation. You've learned that you must sell yourself before you can sell anything else. You've learned that sales is the one skill that never gets fired. But now we need to talk about the most important part of the entire sales process, the close. Because everything we've discussed means nothing if you cannot close. All the rapport building, all the trust, all the emotional connection, all of it is worthless if you walk away without getting the yes. And this is where most people fail, not because they do not know how to close, but because they do not have the mindset to close. Let me tell you what separates closers from everyone else. It is not technique, it is not scripts, it is not tricks. It is belief. Closers believe in what they are selling. They believe it so deeply that asking for the sale feels natural. It feels like they are doing the other person a favor. It feels like they would be doing them a disservice by not asking. This is the fundamental shift you need to make. Most people feel awkward asking for the sale because somewhere inside they feel like they are taking something from the other person. They feel like they are imposing. They feel like they are being pushy or greedy. But closers see it completely differently. Closers know that what they are offering has value. They know that it will improve the other person's life. They know that saying yes is in the best interest of the buyer. So asking for the sale is not taking, it is giving. It is offering an opportunity. It is opening a door to something better. When you truly believe this, closing becomes effortless. Now let me talk about fear, because this is the biggest obstacle to closing. Most people are afraid of rejection. They are afraid of hearing no. They are afraid of being judged. They are afraid of damaging the relationship. So what do? They avoid the close altogether. They have great conversations. They build wonderful rapport. They present beautifully. But when it comes time to ask for the commitment, they freeze. They say things like, "So just think about it and let me know." They say, "I will send you some information and you can get back to me." They say, "No pressure, whenever you are ready." These are not closes. These are escapes. These are ways of avoiding the discomfort of asking directly, and they kill sales every single day. Here is what I need you to understand about rejection. It is not personal. When someone says no, they are not rejecting you as a human being. They are saying no to an offer at a specific moment in time. That is it. Maybe the timing is wrong. Maybe they have other priorities. Maybe they do not have the budget right now. Maybe they need more information. There are 1,000 reasons why someone might say no, and almost none of them are about you personally. So why would you let the fear of something that is not even personal stop you from asking? Why would you let an imaginary rejection that might not even happen prevent you from closing deals? The fear of no is far worse than actually hearing no. And the more you hear no, the less it affects you. Every no brings you closer to yes. Every no is practice. Every no is feedback. Closers understand this. They do not avoid no, they collect it. They welcome it. Because they know that on the other side of enough no's is a life-changing yes. Let me give you a practical framework for closing that will serve you in any situation. It has 4 parts: summarize, confirm, ask, and silence. First, you summarize. You briefly recap everything you have discussed. You remind them of their problem, their desires, and how your solution addresses both. This brings all the key points back to the front of their mind. It reinforces why they were interested in the first place. Second, you confirm. You ask them if everything you discussed makes sense. You ask if they have any remaining questions. You ask if they see how this could work for them. This gives them a chance to voice any final concerns, and it gets them saying yes to small things before the big ask. Third, you ask. This is where most people fail. You have to actually ask for the sale. Directly, clearly, confidently. You say something like, "Are you ready to move forward?" You say, "Should we get started today?" You say, "I think this is a great fit for you. Let us make it happen." The words do not have to be fancy. They just have to be clear. You are asking them to make a decision. And fourth, silence. This is crucial. After you ask, you stop talking. You wait. Most people cannot handle the silence, so they start rambling, making excuses, backing off, giving the other person an easy way out. Do not do this. Ask and then wait. Let them process. Let them respond. The first person to speak after the close usually loses. Make sure it is not you. Now let me talk about what happens when you get the yes. Many people fumble here too. They get so excited or so relieved that they keep talking. They reopen the conversation. They accidentally give the buyer reasons to reconsider. Do not do this. When you get the yes, confirm it quickly, handle the next steps efficiently, and close the conversation gracefully. Thank them for their decision. Make them feel good about saying yes. Reassure them that they made the right choice, and then move forward before anything can unravel. A sale is not complete until the commitment is locked in, until the contract is signed, until the payment is made, until the deal is done. So keep your focus until you cross that finish line. I also want to talk about persistence, because this is a key part of the closer mindset. Studies show that most sales happen after the 5th contact, but most salespeople give up after 1 or 2 attempts. Think about what this means. The majority of people quit right before the sale would have happened. They stopped one conversation too early. They gave up one follow-up too soon. Closers do not do this. Closers follow up relentlessly. Not in an annoying way, not in a desperate way, but in a professional, consistent, value-adding way. They check in. They provide additional information. They stay top of mind. They make it easy for the buyer to say yes when the timing is finally right. Persistence is not about being pushy. Persistence is about being present. It is about being there when the buyer is ready, even if that takes longer than you expected. Here is another truth about the closer mindset. Closers take responsibility for everything. If the sale did not happen, they do not blame the buyer. They do not blame the market. They do not blame the product. They look in the mirror and ask, what could I have done differently? Did I not build enough trust? Did I not uncover their real needs? Did I not handle objections effectively? Did I not ask clearly enough? This is not about beating yourself up. This is about growth. When you take full responsibility for your results, you gain full power to change them. When you blame external factors, you give away your power. Closers keep their power. They learn from every loss. They adjust their approach. They get better with every conversation. And over time, they become unstoppable. Finally, I want to leave you with this thought. Closing is not something you do to someone. It is something you do for someone. When you have built trust, when you have understood their needs, when you have presented a genuine solution, asking for the close is an act of service. You are helping them make a decision that will benefit them. You are giving them the push they need to move forward. You are saving them from the paralysis of indecision. Many people will thank you for closing them because they wanted to say yes, but they needed someone to ask. Be that person. Be the one who is not afraid to ask. Be the one who believes so strongly in what they offer that leaving without a close feels wrong. That is the closer mindset. That is what separates the average from the extraordinary. That is the final piece of sales mastery. You now have everything you need. Go out and close. You have just spent an hour rewiring how you think about one of the most important skills in human existence. And I need you to understand something before you go. This was not just information. This was transformation. Every single word you heard was designed to shift something inside you, to wake you up, to make you see the world differently. And now that you see it, you cannot unsee it. You will never have another conversation without noticing the dynamics at play. You will never meet another person without understanding what is really happening beneath the surface. You will never face another opportunity without knowing that your ability to sell will determine whether you seize it or lose it. Let me take you back through everything we covered because I want this burned into your memory. You learned that you have been selling your entire life. Every conversation, every relationship, every interview, every negotiation. You were always selling. You just did not have the language for it. Now you do. You learned that people do not buy products, they buy feelings, they buy emotions, they buy the version of themselves they want to become. Stop selling features, start selling transformation. You learned that attention is the new currency, and most people are broke. In a world of infinite noise, the ability to capture and hold attention is priceless. Master this, and you will never be ignored again. You learned the psychology of yes. You learned that decisions are made emotionally and justified logically. You learned about trust, desire, safety, reciprocity, consistency, social proof, and scarcity. These are not tricks. These are the operating system of the human mind. Learn to work with it, and you will move people effortlessly. You learned that objections are not rejection. They are invitations to continue the conversation. Every objection is someone telling you they are interested, but they need more. Give them more. Address their concerns. Dissolve their resistance, and watch them say yes. You learned that you must sell yourself first. Before any product, before any service, before any idea. You are the first sale. Your confidence, your authenticity, your likability. These are the foundations. Build them strong, and everything else becomes easier. You learned that sales never gets fired. In every company, in every economy, in every situation, the people who can bring in revenue are protected. They are valued. They are rewarded. Develop this skill and you will never worry about job security again. You will never worry about money again. You will have the power to create your own opportunities, no matter what happens in the world around you. And finally, you learned the closer mindset. You learned that all the rapport and trust and connection means nothing if you cannot ask for what you want. You learn to believe so deeply in your value that asking feels like giving. You learn to embrace rejection as feedback. You learn to follow up relentlessly. You learn to take responsibility for your results. You learn that closing is not something you do to people. It is something you do for people. It is the final act of service in the sales process. Now here is what separates the people who listen to this audiobook from the people who will actually change their lives because of it. Action. Knowledge without action is useless. You can listen to 100 audiobooks. You can take 1,000 courses. You can read every sales book ever written. But if you do not go out and practice, if you do not put yourself in uncomfortable situations, if you do not start conversations and make offers and ask for closes, nothing will change. Nothing. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not filled with more information. It is filled with action. It is filled with repetition. It is filled with failure and learning and trying again. So here is my challenge to you. Within the next 24 hours, I want you to sell something. It does not matter what. It does not matter how big or small. Sell an idea to a friend. Pitch a project to your boss. Start a conversation with a stranger. Ask for something you have been afraid to ask for. Negotiate something you have been accepting without question. Do something that puts you in the position of selling. Feel the discomfort. Push through it. And notice what happens. Notice how it feels. Notice what you learn. That one action will teach you more than this entire audiobook ever could. Because sales is not learned by listening. Sales is learned by doing. And I want you to remember something. Every master was once a disaster. Every great salesperson was once terrified of rejection. Every closer once fumbled their words and lost deals they should have won. The difference is they kept going. They did not let failure stop them. They did not let fear define them. They practiced and improved and grew until selling became second nature. You can do the same. You will do the same. If you commit to this path, there is no limit to what you can achieve. No limit to the money you can make. No limit to the influence you can have. No limit to the life you can build. This audiobook is called Sales Mastery Unlocked for a reason. The word unlocked means something. It means the door is now open, but you have to walk through it. I have given you the keys. I have shown you the path. I have armed you with knowledge and perspective and techniques that most people will never learn. But the rest is up to you. You have to take the first step. You have to keep walking, even when it gets hard. You have to trust the process, even when results are slow. And you have to believe, truly believe, that you are capable of mastering this skill. Because you are. You are capable of selling anything to anyone. You are capable of influencing outcomes. You are capable of persuading and connecting and closing. You are capable of building a life where opportunities come to you because people trust you, believe in you, and want to work with you. That life is waiting for you on the other side of action. So go. Start today. Start now. Do not wait until you feel ready, because you will never feel completely ready. Do not wait until conditions are perfect, because conditions are never perfect. Do not wait for permission, because no one is going to give it to you. You have to give it to yourself. You have to decide that you are done waiting and you are ready to become the person you know you can be. The power to sell anything is now yours. Use it wisely. Use it ethically. Use it to create value for yourself and for everyone you serve. And never forget what you learned here today. You have always been selling. Now you know how to do it masterfully. This is Sales Mastery Unlocked. The power to sell anything. And you are just getting started.